Hey guys, how's it going? Tom Greenwood here, Everyman Carpentry YouTube channel. Due to some feedback on a recent video, I'm going to do a little bit of talking about what's called a ledger board and about the International Residential Code and why this particular setup would fail if the house was built today. Now this house was built in, it's 113 years old, so like 1906 or something like that. So the way they built things back then was however they wanted. There was no code. The International Code didn't come in until like 1972, I think. They started making a building code. Anyway, enough about that. So what we have here is a floor joist, and this is our floor joist. And then under here, that's our ledger board, and then behind it is a 4x6 beam that the ledger board is attached to. So let's see, where to even begin. Okay, so you can use ledger boards for construction these days, but it's strongly discouraged. If I were building this house today, this beam right here would be lower and the joist would run all the way across the top and the weight would be supported on top of the beam itself. There wouldn't be a ledger at all. Hold on, light, don't go nowhere, please. We're trying to do YouTube here. Anyway, so what we have going on here is a couple things. So they have notched out the width of a 2x4 here and then set this 2x8 on top of it. Okay? Alright, so that's a big time no-no. If you're going to have a ledger board, you want the full width of your joist material to be sitting on top of your ledger board. And here they don't have that. They just notched it and butted it up against it. So what that means is really you only have the strength of this material here, which is like a 2x4, is all that there is that's holding the weight on this. So if it's only as strong as a 2x4, and if it's gonna fail right there and splinter. Now that didn't happen anywhere with stuff that I've seen in this house, which is impressive, but it would be a problem today. So first you would want the ledger board to be actually carrying the weight of the joist here instead of the joist being notched out onto it. The other thing is that, so a ledger board or a ledger strip is supposed to be 2 inches by 2 inches square. It's a minimum of 2 inches deep and 2 inches thick. And that's just what the code prescribes these days. So this would probably meet the 2 inches thick and the 2 inches wide, so it would be okay, but the joist isn't sitting on it, so that's a problem. The other thing is that they have a bolting pattern. Engineers have done the math and figured out how much weight a joist is supposed to carry, how much it can carry maximum, and then how much will be sitting on that ledger board and how much the fasteners will be carrying. So there are 3 ways you can attach to a ledger board that will meet the code. What they did with this one, you can see here, is a big nail. I don't know if you can see that nail or not, but there's a big nail, and that's probably like a 20 penny or a pole barn spike or something like that. And there's several of them in here, and they did their job, like they were up to snuff. But nowadays, a nail wouldn't be enough. You either need a lag bolt, so a bolt that would probably be, I think, a 1/2 inch is what's prescribed in the code. You'd have to drill all the way through it and then drill back again a little bit larger for the... Anyway, you have to drill it twice. There's code requirements on it. I'm not going to get into detail about that. You'd have to drill it twice, and then you run the lag bolt through, and the lag bolt actually has to clear the material that it's holding by 1 inch. Or it could fail and pull out. So it either has to go through 1 inch or you can bolt it on there. Now, the other thing that I see a lot of times with ledger boards and stuff like that is they'll be bolted on there, but they'll use carriage bolts. Carriage bolts are the ones that have like a round dome-shaped head. Those are a no-no. And you see them everywhere. Every single deck in the city I live in, almost to a T, has freaking carriage bolts on it, and carriage bolts don't meet code. They have to be hex head bolts in order to meet the code. I don't know why that is, but I know that if they don't meet the code and they fail, you're liable for that stuff. You know, I mean, you could be liable for that stuff. I don't know if it's ever failed, but it's a possibility. So, one, ledger boards either have to be screwed on with lag screws or screwed on with lag bolts or all the way through with through bolts. So that's one thing. 2, the ledger strip itself has to be below the width of the material. So this board, the beam behind it needs to be deep enough that the ledger full width can be attached to it, plus the joist. So this would need to be like a 2x12, and clearly it isn't. You know what I mean? And then also, lastly, you can't have your material be notched out. That's just a big time no-no, because it reduces the strength of the joist. All that's carrying the weight of this particular joist is this 4-inch strip right here. This right here is doing absolutely nothing. It does nothing. So those are some stuff about ledger boards. Geez, I went on for 5.5 minutes about it. Anyway, make sure that whoever's building your house is following code, or you can have bad stuff happen to it. Hope that this little talk about ledger board helps somebody out there, and I'll talk to you guys in the future. As always, if you have questions about anything, you're interested in anything, you want to know anything, you like what you see, or you want to know more about what I'm doing, hit me up, send me a message. I'll be more than happy to talk about it. Hope you guys are having a great holiday out there. Merry Christmas and have a Happy New Year, and I'll see you guys in the New Year. Bye.